someone types a message.
Yeah, I heard it this time.
Okay. All right. So back from break. Some old business first is, I think next week we should do another review of the backlog, just see where things are at. I know Hans has been working on a bunch of stuff that I'm sure he's going to want to talk. excuse me, talk about. But let's just see where what's been moved, what we can close out, etc. next week. Jose emailed me. I don't think it's like letting the cat out of the bag on the stand-up, but he's writing a blog post on the 10 years-ish of Elixir, and he's wondering if we want to include anything about Lumen, especially if there's any major milestones we hope to hit in 2021.
Yeah, we can definitely come up with something for that. I think it's one of those efforts that takes time, but it's going to be really exciting once people start being able to use it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also fine not including it, only because I don't want to. I hate having to be held to some arbitrary statement that we put out.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't necessarily think we need to announce anything as via this, but maybe just a blurb about the project itself. I
mean, we can mention that we hit 0.1 right before ElixirConf, and that progress is being made, and every week there's I'm just basically I'll word it in such a way so that people know that the project is actively being developed.
Yeah, I mean, in my mind, that's the main thing, really. Keeping it in people's mind, is something that's ongoing. Mm-hmm. We don't do a whole lot of active communication with the community at large, just because things move rather slowly. But ideally, that will be shifting into something a little bit where it's like a black box, where people aren't involved yet because there's not a whole lot for them to do with it. But we're super close to having something that's a little bit more broadly usable.
Okay. There was a question someone had on M1 compilation, and I don't know if you guys saw it. Let me just open up the issue.
Yeah, I mean, right now it's going to be broken compiling the dynamic application code. I don't know if there's anything else we're using that's specifically tied to x86. The main thing that, other than that we probably need to evaluate is whether or not there's any additional restrictions on ARM as far as how pointer tagging works and things like that. But
yeah, Justin C. Johnson
asked
tabs
on ARM, and it's not really a problem.
Yeah, it looks like he's on the new MacBook. He was asking about the reserve in place error. It seems like he's getting the same issue.
It's just a Rust thing. It's not M1 related.
And I just replied back saying because we had discussed M1 on the December 9th stand-up, and I just said that we know that currently doesn't compile. We can target it, but no one on the team has an M1 system anyway.
The error he's getting, isn't that just he's using the wrong likely?
Yeah, that's it. It's Rust. Like he's not even compiling for M1 the way he's doing it.
It would be cool if we could get him to at least try compiling and see where it stops. I guess I don't know.
I mean, the only thing is he's not going to produce. Well, it's weird because we don't have an M1 LLVM. We have one that targets x86. And so, like,
No, I mean, we have the same support for M1 as Rust does. Might even be more advanced than what Rust has at this stage. We're pretty much constrained by Rust as far as target support goes.
I don't think we need to focus on M1 because it's so new and it's going to take some time. So
I probably need to go through and make sure that there hasn't been any recent changes to this target spec in Rust or M1, but as soon as that was added back in like, I don't know, June or July or something, I added it. So we had the support for compiling to that target, but aside from, Rust not compiling for M1 until recently, and us not yet, I think, compiling on a nightly with that enabled, that might be a blocker there. But now that Hans has made the changes necessary for us to update from kind of like the fixed nightly that we were using, that should no longer be an issue.
Okay.
On that note, Paul, do you want to do the changes to the Alloc to allocator, or do you want me to do them so that you can concentrate on just the compiler bit?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to take a look at that, I think that makes sense.
Okay.
There's no
Because
sense in having
right
that
now I know that's
blocked on me.
blocking getting Hans's other changes that fix like the actual compilation or like the parsing bugs.
We're not even on alloc, right? We're on a pretty old one. Yeah.
We're in
Master
an earlier version of alloc, like the second or third iteration of it.
Yeah.
We're in the version where they had more methods in the trait, but whether it was zeroed is still a parameter that you pass. And I don't know what the current version looks like.
Yeah, it's. I think the zeroed ones are separate functions now.
They went back to that. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and then it just takes like a layout, and then realloc takes both the old layout and new layout, and that's, yeah.
I bet they took the zero out because then they got rid of a branch on hot pass for allocation, because a lot of stuff probably is either always going to be zero or like this would ignore the other path, and that way they didn't need an if.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I would say go for it. If there's any issues, definitely let me know. But yeah, that would be one thing that I don't need to have like blocked on me for no reason. So, and then as far as the other changes I'm working on, for most of the holiday break, I've not been able to look at it. So I've been pretty much swamped with regular work recently. So, but a little bit last week and this week, I've been getting back into it again. So hopefully by, next week, I'll at least have reached a, point where I can merge the work that I've got, but we'll see how it goes here. It really kind of depends on my, day job as far as whether or not I'm going to have time. There's just a lot of like infrastructure stuff happening, so it's requiring a lot more of my time than normal. The main thing there is just like getting the alternate backend or like the backend refactoring in place so that we can start trying to compile for WebAssembly and theoretically other platforms in the future. But that was the major shift there. And another part of that is kind of addressing some of the issues with types that were still biting us in some edge cases. So that should help clean up some of the errors that we were seeing when compiling OTP. Yeah, there's not a whole lot else to report on that front. So.
Okay. So I was muted in changing rooms earlier. I missed if sounds like Paul just gave his update. Luke,
yeah, I just kind of like rolled into it. So
yep. So we'll move to Luke now.
As I just said with Paul, this Friday I'll work on getting us to the newer Rust by making us switch to the new allocator tray that replaced alloc-ref. Other than that, no more work on the bug finder. I do need to check it in though, so that other people can just run it.
Yeah. That'd be
Since
nice
the whole
to
point of
have.
the tool was that we would be able to run it without having to manually extract all the errors.
If it's something that doesn't need to live in the main repo, I'd just create a new repository under the Lumen org for it and pop it in there.
It's an Elixir mix task, so it's just under the. It's like a support file for the test. Is the way I did it. It works okay.
All right, Hans.
Yeah, I did the thing where it's now all the source span errors should now be working. It's a really small fix, but I did what I talked about last time, and then I've been trying to get into to working on and finishing up the binary things and all the rest of my local changes. It's a bit frustrating because lately when I've been working on it, I had like the last week, and then I had a big break, then last week, then a big break again, and then I have to get into it again now. So. But I'm starting to get up to speed again, and it looks like I'll try to get that done this week, probably. But it looks like I'll be probably on client work again next week. So at least. Sorry.
No, I was just saying okay.
Okay.
As a reminder, as far as I know, I'm on client work through the end of the current contract, at least, like the end of the quarter, as far as I know.
Okay. All right. Let's call it there then. Thank you, everybody.
Talk to you later.
Bye.